What up, America? What up, world? Welcome to a Better Black America podcast, the number one urban podcast stateside and worldwide. Now, today is Monday, June 13th, 2022. Now, these grand distractions and these grave evils. Let's just get right to it. These grand distractions and these grave evils that's going on in the world today. Now, we know without shadow of a doubt, a distraction is a stunt to kind of get you off of the real, publicity stunts and all of this stuff. So the reaction to the mass shootings is the March for Our Lives. The March for Our Lives events that's been going on all over the country looks like Black Lives Matters events are just different T-shirts. Who's orchestrating these events? Who's telling them to get outside and protest? What is the issue? You know, we had a mass shooting in Texas. We had a mass shooting in New York, in Buffalo. One was racially motivated. The other was, we couldn't really make that distinction, but it was an 18-year-old in both of them. So therefore, I guess they're marching to change the law. Now, marching and protesting is something that we really need to evaluate and sit back as a people, because they want you to get out there and protest. But what is it about the issues? Because at the end of the day, no one should be able to go buy any type of assault rifle at 18 years old, period. Now, I don't have a problem with moving the age to own a assault rifle or even a handgun up to the age of 21. Why is that an issue? Why is that an issue? Because they make it political. They make it political because we're dealing with realness and we're dealing with fake. One of these parties is a real party, meaning it's at least associated with these United States of America. The other party is fake, like a counterfeit $100 bill. Literally. Real versus fake. And the one that's fake is the demo. Now, if I had a demo and say, hey, man, I got a show that's coming, man, I'm trying to get into this industry and, make a mark. And here's my demo. You guys are going to laugh at me and say, where's the real deal? But what if I'm just a demo and I will never be real? This is why the Democratic Party is so aggressive with its maneuverments right now. This is why they stole the election. And the reason I say they stole the election is because when you hear anybody say that talk about cheating, they don't say there is zero evidence of cheating. They say there is no evidence of widespread cheating. So the reaction is, instead of, busting up our voting process, let's go ahead and, revert back to the laws from the past when it comes to voting. We're not going to make it a party. We're not going to make it a pride weekend. We're not going to make it something that's, picking you up and cooking and feeding you and doing all of these things, because I've seen people get excited about defeating Donald Trump. But when you defeated Donald Trump, you literally signed on with a party that's here to defeat America. Think about it. Think about it. You see exactly what you see. This is a one world order, a move that's pushed on some globalism. Now, how is it that Biden is hosting the Summit of the Americas? He can't even complete a sentence. We are looking at a handicapped man as a president. So literally, Jill Biden is the president because she is seen more than the president and the vice president. I don't know where Kamala Harris is hiding at. I have not seen any sorority members step up and speak for her. So this was the last debacle that we're going to fall for. Because we're dealing with these grand distractions and these grave evil. I don't think God's people should be associated with any evil whatsoever. So when they come with this lesser of the two evils, you go ahead and keep your evil. Because the Lord's prayer is, deliver us not, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. So if our prayer is to be delivered from evil, then how is it possible that we will promote, suggest, and tell somebody to do evil? I had a brother tell me, no, man, it's the lesser of the two evils. Wow. How can some evil, demonic human beings and creatures get you to tell your brother to do evil when we don't do evil? And like I said, it's time for the men to step up. And this is what we're doing. It's a mass takeover. The black community is dead. And the black man, we have AEDs. We have a life support system where we could bring it back to life because we need to take charge. And when I say charge, just basically take responsibility for yourself and make sure you loving on your brethren like you want them to love on you. You make sure you elevate your game. Make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's to be respected in this world today, because we got a whole bunch of work to do leading up into the 2024 election. We got some things that's going to be talked about in history because we really, as a people, haven't done anything in the 21st century other than tuck our tails and allow our elderly politicians to get us to vote for evil because the devil we know trumps the one we don't know. And that's Clyburn talking about we know Joe and Joe know us. You know Joe. We can't stand Joe. Joe don't even know Joe. And that's not even a joke. I've never seen a president of a country that cannot have a candid conversation with the people. That man went on Jimmy Kimmel last week, man, and he needed a handler. They had to cut. They had to edit. The man is not well, and he's getting worse in plain sight. And a lot of us have seen our grandparents and great grandparents and some of our parents, get to those latter ages with those mental illnesses. And we know they don't get better. They can slow down the process, but they're not getting better. So when you talk about a presidential candidate in 2024, I don't think nobody in their right mind is even going to run for the Democratic Party, because this will be a cleansing, an ethnic cleansing, because you no longer have that ethnic African-American black vote. Now, you can have the African Americans who wish to be a part of the LGBTQ car and the AARP car, because the black man, our job is to protect the women and the children. And that's pretty much protecting the culture. So therefore, there's a changing of the guard. And this is why the Constitution is at play. This is why the Democrats leaked a Supreme Court decision. They leaked a Supreme Court draft of a possible vote to remove Roe versus Wade off the books, and that's the abortion, because America has decided that they don't want to be associated with killing, like in the book of Exodus. There was killing babies in the book of Exodus. And in that same book of Exodus, the Israelites, which was the blacks, were still in slavery and still under bondage. Sounds familiar. We got Juneteenth coming up. So this is a mass movement away from the two-party system, more importantly, separating ourselves from the biggest threat to the black race in the history of these United States, and it's spanning over 400 years to this day. And that's real. So therefore, we got work to do. Now, we remember the 60s when they sit back and say, hey, the baby booming generation, the 60s was a great time. But the 60s, those assassin's bullets killed the movement. Now, if you look at the LGBTQ movement, there's a start date. If you look at the women's movement, there's a start date. You look at the civil rights movement, there's a start date, 1955, and an end date, 1964. So literally, Lyndon B. Johnson, and it's weird that the vice president to Abraham Lincoln was Andrew Johnson. They share the same names 100 years later, played us again. And we're dealing with these people that's been living in a type of lifestyle that they don't want to see an expansion or growing of a people, because they signed on for life to make sure that the black race is genocided here in America. And it's crazy to have baby boomers associating themselves with whites, knowing back in the 60s and 70s and 60s that they were literally putting the black race in a chokehold to actually kill it. And the only reason the race has not died is because God is undefeated. That's right. God is undefeated. So when you talk about an exodus, man, that's in the Bible. Okay. But with these grand distractions and these grave evils, do you know that there is a mass exodus of non-elected black cabinet members to the point that they can't even keep or find somebody that want to even work for the Democratic Party? Look at the Secretary of State. Or let me take that back, the press secretary. The only reason that the woman is there now is because she's the first black gay female press secretary. Because the white female don't want the job. The white man don't want the job. The black man don't want the job. But she will put her hand up. I'll take it. Why? Because you black and gay. So now that you're a black gay female married to a white female, what association to the race does she have? Absolutely zero. And this is the point that I'm making. We are a race, not an ethnicity. An ethnicity can be created or dismantled. Races can't. So this is what it is. It's not only a battle politically, it's a battle racially. Because if black America do not somehow make an impact, and between now and 24, amend that 13th Amendment, get the profiting out of prisons, make amends with America, with compensation, which will open the doors for reparation. But we're going class action first. Because these days are just what God ordered. So if you're paying attention, the word says, seek and ye shall find. But if you want to be a follower and stagnate the race because you don't want to be exposed, then that's on you. But you got to get out the way because we're dealing with real versus fake. Grand distractions. We already won. So now the whole plan is to get on one accord. Now, 2024 election, they're already talking about candidates and no one wants to sign up because they're waiting for the midterms in November when the Democratic Party is expected to be, destroyed. Because the world knows they stole an election. They lie right to your face. Because when you're dealing with a demo, you're not dealing with anything real. And it's just that simple. Because when you're dealing with the demos, you're dealing with the original sin of America. Now, you have a part of America who used some wicked things to get to where they needed to get to. And we got there. But then America decided to liberate those slaves and emancipate them so they can actually fight for the Union, in which they fought for the Union, in which they helped the Union defeat the Dixiecratic Democratic South. But that assassin bullet to Abraham Lincoln, the criminalization clause in the Constitution, as well as no support from the Union. And this is why we can't be Republicans either. Okay? Because we'll never get respect. We have to drive our own cars and buses. We have to run our own communities and get some respect and show the world how we can compete. Not only compete, but add to society. Because when I was coming up, there were so many opportunities to do different things outside the neighborhood. But by the time I got to, middle school, high school, these programs and things were eliminated. And I saw the things that were keeping us focused and growing us, force us to deal in a melting pot situation And the climate has changed drastically, so difficultly, to the point where this is what we're dealing with. They force this climate on us. So when you talk about mass shooting, this is the climate that America has created. When you talk about murder and homicide, this is what America has created. When you have open borders, you're bringing in drugs, you're bringing in guns, you're doing all kind of dirty things just to push an initiative or push a narrative that we don't know nothing about. And this is why this mass exodus is real, because guilty by association is real. So don't let no Democratic Party send you to hell. Now, if you're a member of the AARP, you will be fine without electing a sitting president for the rest of your life, because clearly it don't make a difference. Once you get with the AARP, you good, Republican or Democrat. They take care of the seniors. But in the black community, the leadership is diminishing, and we are inheriting posts that we don't have to take, from our elderly family members or elderly people in the community. These positions are wide open because look what they did. There's some repentance that's going on. Could you imagine being a politician and you was an advocate for Joe Biden and you was all in the community, vote for Joe, vote for Joe. He's going to help us. Vote for Joe. Things are going to change. And then now you go back into that community and you're the enemy. You told us to vote for these high ass gas prices. You told us to vote for these high ass inflation. You told us to do this. And this is why the non-elected officials are abandoning their post, because they're looking at the people that they work for and say, man, for real, this what we doing? This what we doing? And we on to something. I've seen, Build a Better America, Build Back Better. And the brand is A Better Black America. Been on the books for 6-7 years. How can you build something better or make something better without breaking it down to its last compound? So somehow idiotic fools think you could build and destroy at the same time. That's why that number 8 is so cold. So the black community is embracing just building because we've been destroyed. So we're not going to aid and abet the destruction of us, because there are some original sins and some atonements out there that need to be handled. And before we can really have a conversation, we have to remove ourselves from the biggest threat. And that's the Democratic Party, the fake fraudulent party. It is so low. And when I say so low, I mean, it's at the lowest ever. Joe Biden's approval rating in the black community is absolutely 0. Yes, Joe Biden's approval rating in the black community is 0. No, this is not a Fox News poll, a CNN poll, a MSNBC poll, a Pew poll. It's none of that. It's the people poll. Because anytime I talk to a person, a black person, whether they voted for Joe Biden or not, they are disappointed, disenchanted, unhappy, and almost sad. But when I start talking to them and start talking about a plan, then we get the hope back, because somehow we have been led to embrace a noun, a person, place, or thing. And see, if you look at the noun, a person is Donald Trump. So we help the Democrats beat Donald Trump, a noun. But what about the verb? What about the action? What about the noun what? It's kind of like just setting yourself up to fail. But looking at these situations, man, it feels so good to know that, we're on the right side of history. Because regardless if you voted for Joe Biden or not, that's neither, here nor there. But right now, you'll be a fool to do it again. And we're not. OK, because the Democratic Party is a fake party. It is what it is. It means ruled by the devil. The mascot itself is a jackass. I think it's either Thomas Jefferson or Andrew Johnson. I think it was Thomas Jefferson, who was pretty much an asshole. And they called him out on it. You're an asshole. And he said, you got that right. I am. I'm a jackass. And that's what he said. And that party became the Jackass Party. And a Jackass Party is a crossbreed between a horse and a mule. and the mule can't reproduce. So it's a jackass, a dumbass donkey. That's the mascot. And a donkey can't even defeat a man, let alone an elephant. So what I'm saying is, it's time to be independent. If we was a 5-star athlete and we wasn't getting the ball, we wasn't getting looks, we wasn't happy, we wasn't getting the press or getting what we thought we deserved, I'm sure we'd transfer and get into the transfer portal. If we was some college students. But if we was in the NBA, I'm sure you look at trade rumors every day. But you don't hear trade rumors when you're talking about free agents. We've been a free agent for a very long time, people. But for some strange reason, we're still operating under a contract, that's bogus. And when I say bogus, meaning it's about to be null and void because that document is bogus. It was a setup. How can we have equality in the world with a criminalization clause that pays money into crime? And that's all it is. Crime pays. In the state of California, earmarked $90,000 annually just to keep somebody incarcerated, but only $13,000 to educate. That is dumb, stupid. So it's time. All good things come to an end. So this good economic is done. So now when we start talking and understanding the system, blame it on Joe Biden. It's all Joe Biden's fault. God has used the devil to bless us because you got the same man in office that voted against every segregated issue. Now he's in office, being exposed for who he is. Can't even find blacks to work for him. The vice president is missing in action. Have not heard one AKA sorority member promote her. And that's the sad part about it. These secret societies and divine nines, you guys are going to have to adhere to the divine because it's coming. Because you guys did this. Now, did it benefit you or not? Did it help you or help your community? Just because you're a member of a fraternity doesn't mean you have to be a member of the Confederate Dixiecratic Southern Ku Klux Klan South. And that's sad. So we're going to be talking about sellouts. We're going to be talking about the Divine Nine, the secret societies, and are they aiding and abetting the demise of the culture? Are they adding to the culture? Because right now the Democratic Party has to be on pause and has to fall back. Because it's foul and it's fake. And like I said, nonpartisan independent. We're not a Sadducee or a Pharisees. We're raising ourselves to get to higher ground because we cannot deal with these fake sham parties. And it comes with us being on one accord. We cannot be a part of a presidential administration who's polling at -0 in the black community. We can't be dealing with a political party who want to go out and protest and talk about Roe versus Wade being overturned, but not about the leak. What up, America? What up, world? Welcome to A Better Black America podcast, the #1 urban podcast stateside and worldwide. Now, today is Monday, June 13th, 2022. Now, I just reset the room because one thing that I want to talk about today is not Roe versus Wade, because we know without a shadow of a doubt, abortion ain't right at its simplest form. We know there's exception to the rules, but that's fine and all. But the issue is not one elected Democratic official had a problem with leaked information from the Supreme Court. This is worse than Watergate. This was supposed to be one of the worst things that can happen politically in the 21st century. But you see a fake demo party that can basically motivate its adversaries to get up and march and travel and all of this and all of that for what? But nobody wants to talk about the high crime and misdemeanor of the leaked information. So that's what makes it questionable. That's what shows us, yeah, y'all did it and y'all don't care. So I don't like being taunted by the devil. The devil get in my face, I'm going to slap him. So we're going to keep it real and expose the fake. The Democratic Party is a demo. Please listen to my demo. We're not listening to the demos no more. We are not listening to the demos no more. And then, and then the facts are there. We know everything we need to know based on facts and information. So all we have to do is just stand still. We want to cleanse our souls. We want to take a break. Because in 2024, we have to let the world know, and we have to set our mark in history. No different than Rosa Parks did with the bus system. Because before they desegregated the buses, or saying, basically changed the seating chart, it was because of a boycott. So what are we going to do and how are we going to do it? Not only in the midterms, but for the 2024 election. Because we have an opportunity to get everything we want. We have an opportunity to go back, look at the books, see where the misnomers and mistakes was, correct them, fix them, compensate, move on, and have some equality. Because there's no way we could have true equality with a criminalization clause on the Constitution. And that criminalization clause here in America is to kill black men. That's what it's all predicated on. Lock up and kill black men. Because the climate that America has created. So I'm saying is we got to change the climate, make it more loving, give more opportunity to anyone that wants an opportunity. Because when you are stretched mentally, stretched financially, stressed because of what's going on, that plays to your psyche. It have you doing things and feeling a certain type of way. But if you had everything you wanted and needed and an opportunity to be what you see yourself being and able to have resources to do these things without the police setting you up, without gangs setting you up, trying to rob you and kill you, without a system that's predicated on killing and incarcerating aggressive leaders. And that's what it is. Because all my big homies back in the day, they were businessmen. They just threw the dope in the hood. So therefore, why not the smartest businessmen take this commodity and make some bread? And not only take care of the hood, take care of his family, and take care of the children, the kids. But that's too much like a man. So make sure that there's no men in the community. I'm telling you, it all goes back to the science. And President Joe Biden said it himself. Follow the science. And that's the science of Willie Lynch. So now the formerly tarred and feathered is the leadership in the black community. So now when we come in the room with our credentials, just get out the way because y'all was real until the real niggas showed up. That's what I'm talking about. Y'all held it down this long. So please, let's have a what they would call a easy or a nice or respectful transfer of power. And this power is being transferred from the black baby booming establishment to the black established. Because the baby boomers can't do nothing else. You guys held it down as long as y'all could before y'all let go. Let's have a conversation. Let's communicate. Because our job is to protect not only the community, but God, men, women, and children in that order. Men, women, and children in that order. And the elderly is taken care of in the black community. So if the black community is struggling, then the elderly is going to struggle. You don't want them playing with your AARP. You don't want them playing with your Medi-Cal. You don't want them playing with your Obamacare. You don't want none of that. So therefore, you have to respect and have leadership in office as more important is going to fight for you. Right now, who's fighting for you? No one's fighting for you. They're controlling you because you're a liability. Okay, we want to be an asset to this nation. We don't want to say, what can this country do for us? We want to say, what can we do for this country? But there's some monetary finances out there and a sum that can actually start our generational wealth so we can hold it down and pass it down to our children's children. But before that, we got to get on one accord. So I'm just here to motivate you and encourage you and to let you know that this mass exodus of the Democratic Party is a snowball effect, and there's going to be a mass exodus of this system as a whole, because you cannot stop what God has ordered and or ordained. We live in a time where it's flipped. So we need to be grateful and thankful that we have breath in these days and times, because this is the time and the opportunity to make it happen. And we're going to see it. And it's going to be a real quick transition, because 2024 will be here in no time. I know it just wasn't me to see people graduate from high school seem like yesterday. And then the day you look at them, they graduating from UCLA, SC, CSUN, Northridge, Long Beach, Cal State, Dominguez Hills. And they was just in high school the other day. And that's the craziest thing, because 4 years go fast. So as adults, what are we going to do within the next 2 to 4 years? What credentials are we going to add to our utility belt? How much or how closer will we be to the fabric of having sound leadership in 2024? Because right now it may sound like a pipe dream to some, but to the real ones, it's real. But then to the realist, it's already real, because we don't do fake, or they don't do fake. I know so many people, when I talk about voting and all that, they say, man, we good, but I only voted twice in my life. And that was Obama 1, Obama 2. Oh, okay. Well, okay, cool. You didn't vote for Trump? Nah. You didn't vote for Biden? Hell no, fuck Biden. And that's how it goes down. 0 approval rating in the black community. So for those who feel like they need to elevate themselves and get to that next level, it's time to do it now, because we are being empowered by the loss of power by the Democrats. But what are we going to do with it? While we're auditing the party, it's some things that's so bad that it's going to take some time. But without shadow of a doubt, they're guilty. They're the worst thing that could ever happen to not only a race of people here in America, but for this dear country. How can a country called these United States of America have an opposition? And the leader of the opposition party is the president. The vice president is the other leader, capo, whatever you want to call it. And then Nancy Pelosi is the underboss. So think about this. If the underboss is deemed to have been committed grave evils and perpetrating and cannot take Holy Communion in any Catholic church in the world, what does that mean to the party? This is why these grand distractions are happening. This is why they're trying to keep you, focus on other things, why they're trying to somehow make sense of it. But God is undefeated. They never seen this before. How can you end a movement? They ended civil rights in 1964. That means there's no such a thing for civil rights for the black race. It's all inclusive, and it comes in the LGBTQ car. It comes in the women's feminist car. It comes in the immigrant car. But where's the civil rights car at? Because every black person was sold on assimilation and literally sold out. Thinking that they're going to get in those positions and change the game. All you doing is basically looking stupid and realizing that your people has not even being talked about in society, and your position and your job is to pretty much push a narrative and agenda just so you can continue to keep that lifestyle. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But there are some leaders out there that God has created from birth, and he knew what it was before we was even born. And if you look at our lives and pay attention, you can see how people are selfish just because. But when you see the ones that's, been holding it down, we see it differently. We look at it from, powers and principalities. Okay. But we don't want to be evildoers in high places. So our job is to compete with evildoers in high places. So therefore, we must be strong men of God. Being ye the examples, being exemplary to make sure that we motivate and encourage the next generation. Because we fell for the okie doke, but we're not going to keep falling because we got you. Aha, we see what you're doing. And we're so glad that it was done in plain sight, because they used to say the revolution will not be televised, but the revolution is being televised in plain sight. We won. But what do we want and how do we want it? We got to keep it real and expose the fake. And what are we going to do to protect that power that the Democratic Party is losing? Auditing the party. We're no longer guilty by association. We're studying the Constitution. We're looking at things that can actually press the line and literally kill the Democratic Party. Because if you look at politics, there's other parties that's been in existence, the Federalists, the Whigs, Democratic Republic. So this is American history. So the 21st century is waiting for Black America to show up and show out, because biblically, we almost 3 years removed from the 400-year biblical prophecy. But I'm not going to get into that today. So to have a party that does not have a problem with leaked information from the Supreme Court, but will rally and protest because of the actual draft itself. You have these mass shootings. We're back to the, First Amendment, the right to bear arms, or the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. What are we doing? We see how divided we are as a country. How can we move as one unit and we're not together? It's kind of like having a team, half is Republican, half Democrats. And whoever the quarterback is, if it's a Republican Democrat, then the Democrats won't catch the ball or block. Or if it's a Republican quarterback, then the Democrats won't catch a block. That's not a team. Those are enemies. And we see it in plain sight. So this time around, this mass exodus is expanding to the community because we don't want to be guilty by association. So as we are exiting this dual two-party system and seeing ourselves as nonpartisan independents, as free agents in 2024, we got to make a decision. Do they deserve our vote or not? I say not. So I'm going to have to be convinced otherwise, because Rosa Parks, will be forgotten if it was up to the Black men, because boycotting the 2024 election will send a message so cold. So when they come in 2028, we won. We need at least a full decade. It's already 2022. So we just need a full decade of peace, of love, of understanding, of upward mobility, so we can compete. We want to be an asset. We don't want to be a liability. So liabilities are Democrats. So you want to be a liability. This is why you got white people, influential white people with resources and all over the world marching for gun rights, marching for what is the gun rights, the March for Our Lives. Pretty much that's what it is, the gun rights. So these protests over the weekends was March for Our Lives, and it was guns. And I'm sitting back saying, like, why? Who are they marching for, and what are they marching to? So this is why we got to understand that marching and protesting, that don't work for us. Laws, legislation, a real press or a real push to actually get things to change so people can understand it. But we do have to lobby, and we do have to push initiative and draw legislation. But protesting ain't going to do it. It seems like people, they want something to do, because no matter what the situation is, they always find a way to get signs, to get T-shirts and match. So it goes back to being paid protesters. So these people are out there getting paid. Literally paid protesters. And that's my point of bringing up these marches over the weekend all over the country. Who's printing the T-shirts? Who's paying the salaries? Who's cooking the food? Who's buying the food? You see, they have money set aside to just do anything that they want to do, regardless if it's going to make an impact or not. But if you're a part of our operation, you get your butt up and you go act like you care. Because those same people take those March for Our Lives shirt off and put on the Black Lives Matters. It seems like, people just want things to do. So let them have the Democratic Party. Let them have the LGBTQs. Let them have the African Americans. Let them have the AARP. But they can't have the black man because God says so. And we represent God, man, woman, and child. We are raising the stakes. We're taking the oath to be beacons and pillars in our communities. Black lives do matter, so we got to stop the gun violence. Black lives do matter, so we got to create opportunities and have these conversations of what was done before that could be re-implemented into the community because it worked back then. Trade in high school, work programs out of high school, certificates, explorer programs, recruiting, military, because we need to do something. The best thing that could have ever happened to me was for me to be able to go away, leave LA, get out the state, go to school, play a little ball, travel the country, but ain't nothing like home. So when I come back home, this is home. I have no other place. God put me here. So the region that I live in and the area and the neighborhood I grew up in, all things have purpose. All things have purpose. So in these mass exodus times, just look up and let's not wrestle amongst flesh and blood. Let's not argue and debate evilness because we don't do evil. If your underboss can't take communion, we can't do the party. Because clearly the Catholic Church knows something that we don't know. And it's crazy that the president of the United States is Catholic as well. And he can't take communion either. So these are conversations that are being hidden and distracted because we're dealing with the real versus the fake. Original promise versus the original sin. The fake is slavery. The original promise was to be emancipated. And we'll be celebrating Juneteenth, this June 19th. And it's strange that now and all of a sudden, it's federal holidays, federal paid holidays, because the only way we make change is we make some noise. Joe Biden said the only way you make change is you protest. When it comes to the gun laws, they haven't done anything. So why not take that same advice and press the line for God's people, for blacks, for the black race, to be reinstated into the fabric of America, to be taken off of the liability side and to become a grand asset to this nation in which we once was. So now we're going to talk about the lost cause and the fakes and the lies and all of this stuff because in plain sight. So all I'm saying is don't be guilty by association. Nothing's going to happen if you don't vote. It's not. Especially if we just take a break in a decade, because it took a whole decade to end the civil rights. So it's going to take a whole decade for us to remove ourselves from this dual party system and to become nonpartisan independents by having voter registration drives, having voter education conversations. And when we have presidential candidates that's out there, we have town hall meetings and talk about and communicate and vet them because they don't work for us. We don't work for them. They work for us. So don't come over here telling us what you're going to do. This is what we want. This is how we want it. And if you do not embrace what we're doing, then we won't support you. It's that simple. And it's like this message to white America. Blacks, man, we not killers. We got some stupid gangbangers and all of that stuff. And it's unorganized crime. So don't be afraid or think that we're going to enslave you. We don't have that. We just want you to leave us alone. We just want to have peace in our communities and to be able to have safe communities, thriving communities, because we don't want nobody to die. This is the climate that America has created. So therefore, we have to look at the system to basically figure out ways and means to actually change this trajectory or the direction that the race is going in. And right now, they really are hook, line, and sinker and actually thinking that we're done. That's the craziest thing ever. But God is undefeated. So this is the calm before the storm. We're going to be working through the summer. We can and we will. With that being said, thank you for tuning in. And like I said, this is a Better Black America podcast, the #1 urban podcast stateside and worldwide. Today is Monday, June 13, 2022. Keep tapping in. Peace out. This your man, Bushawn Glover. Peace out.